Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to go over what trunk ports are and how to configure them, and then I'll show you guys how to use them using router on a stick, and I'll show you how to configure that as well. So as you can see, we have 3 VLANs right here. Well, we know that these VLANs can only communicate within each other. So how can we get these VLANs to communicate with one another? And that's where trunk ports come in. Trunk port is basically one port that can be used to allow many VLAN traffics, unlike access port, which can only be used for one VLAN. Trunk ports can be used for many. So let's start by configuring that. Let's access the switch, enable, T. Start off with F01. Interface. Switchport. Mode. Access. We'll start by making these ports connected to the host access ports, and then switchport. Mode. Switchport. Access. VLAN 10. Alright, perfect. Now interface F01, switchport, mode, access, switchport, access, VLAN 10. Alright, perfect. Now F03, switchport, mode, access, switchport, access, VLAN 20. Alright. And now you can see this port right here, G01. We can configure that to be a trunk port, since we want these two VLANs right here to be able to use this port in order to communicate with this VLAN and communicate with the router as well. So let's do that. We use G01. We use this command switchport mode trunk to make that interfaces to a trunk port. As we can see, now it's up. Now let's configure the VLANs we want to allow on that port. Switch port, trunk, allow VLAN, and now we tell it which VLANs to allow, which would be 10 and 20 using this command. Right. So switch port, trunk, allowed, and then VLAN, and then the number of VLAN that we want to allow. So now we're done with configurations in this switch. I'll move on to the other switch. Do the same thing. Enable, T. Interface F01. Switchport, mode, access. Switchport, mode, access. Switchport access. VLAN 30. Alright. One thing that's important that I forgot to mention is the VLANs have to match on both of the switches. So VLAN 1 through 30 right here, these three have to exist on both of these switches in order for this to work. So let's create VLAN 30. Alright. And then do the same right here. Create VLAN 10. VLAN 20. Alright, perfect. And now let's configure the trunk port as well. This port right here, G01, configured as a trunk port. So interface G01, switch port mode trunk, and then switch port allow, switch port trunk allow VLAN, and the same thing as the other one, 10 and 20. Perfect. And now we're going to configure this port right here as another trunk port. So interface G02, switch port mode trunk, switch port trunk allowed VLAN 10, 20, and 30. So we're going to allow this port to access all these VLANs because we're going to need all these VLANs to route to their gateway, which is this router right here. And this interface is down because by default it's down on this router. So let's configure the router. So the interface is G00. Alright, no shutdown. Alright, now it's up. So as you can see, we know that we can only ping, we can only ping hosts inside the corresponding VLANs. For example, we can ping 192.168.10.2. Why is that timed out? Let's see. It's weird. That's it. Show VLAN. Okay, I see what I did. So here's the issue. These two interfaces should be VLAN 1, VLAN 10. So content interface F01, switch port access VLAN. Now F03, interface F03, switch port access VLAN 3. Oh, no. VLAN 20, my bad. So if you want to cancel a command, just write no in the beginning of it and it erases the initial command. So no cancels that out and just type in the correct command right there. So as we can see, we had an issue, these two couldn't ping, so we just used the show VLAN brief and it shows us the VLANs that we have and the interfaces that are in it. So let's, okay, now use the same command, show VLAN brief, and then check that the corresponding ports are in their correct VLANs. Alright, perfect. Now this PC should be able to ping the other PC in their VLAN. Yeah, there you go. But this PC won't be able to ping the PC in VLAN 20 because they're in separate VLANs. So as you can see, timed out. And then the same thing, it won't be able to ping the other PC in VLAN 30 because they're in separate VLANs. So the way we can fix that is using router on a stick. So what we want to do here is create subinterfaces. So subinterfaces are just basically dividing one physical port or one physical interface into separate logical interfaces, meaning we divide the traffic in that physical interface. So let's create the first sub interface. So interface G00. So we use the physical interface that we have, and then we use this .10. Usually common practice is just to name it to the corresponding VLAN, the VLAN we want to link it to. So right there, it's up. Now that it's up, you want to use this command encapsulation DOQ10. So this tells it that that sub interface is correlated to VLAN 10, so it will be linked to VLAN 10. So now let's use the IP. Let's set the IP address right here. So IP addresses for the gateways for each VLAN. So IP 192.168.10.1. Oops. 255.255.255.0. And now let's do the other subinterface for VLAN 20. So use the up arrow to select recent commands. So .20. I'll create the subinterface for the interface for the gateway for VLAN 20. Encapsulation DO20. Okay, for VLAN 20. Set the IP address to 168.20.1.255.255. Alright, and now the last one for VLAN 30. So .30. Alright. Encapsulation 30 IP. Alright. And I pre-configured these to have their gateway already in all these hosts. So just double check. Yep. Alright. Okay. And let's start pinging it. So now that we configured router and a stick, the packet should travel from this switch to this switch and then up, and then let's say it wants to ping to VLAN 30, should go here, here, up to the router, and then down here. So we can start that process. Go into simulation mode and watch these packets. Alright, right now it's just going through the ARP. As you can see, go up to the router. Alright. The gateway, and then down. The router will tell it where to route to. Let's skip ahead. Okay. Fast forward a bit. Okay. So it timed out the first time because it was just performing an ARP request. So after that, we were able to ping this PC in VLAN 30. So now that the ARP request has been performed, let me show you how it looks like. How this PC communicates with this PC following packet. So let's ping it again. Alright. It's right here. Goes to this switch. To this switch. Using this trunk port. Up to the router. Using the subinterface, which is our gateway right here. Down. To back to this switch. And then right here to this PC. And let me show you the routes real quick. So basically VLANs are like different networks, logical networks. So that's why we need a router to route to different networks. So let me show you the networks we have on here. I'm using this is how you check the routes. IP routes. The routes to the different networks. So as you can see here, these are all the routes that we have for the different VLANs. VLAN 30, VLAN 20, and VLAN 10. So any packet that we want to send from this PC to VLAN 10, it will go first to this switch, then to this switch, and up to this router, and then the router will give you the route, and then it would route back this way. So it goes to the router first, and then from the router to the VLAN. It doesn't go straight like it would in a regular network without VLANs, where it would just go from this PC to the switch and then to this PC. But now that we have VLANs, which is logically separated the traffic, which makes it a virtual, like it's called virtual LAN, so a different network. So we'll need a router to route inside this virtual LAN. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Today we just configured trunk ports, what they're used for, and they're used for allowing multiple VLANs to communicate using one port. And then I showed you guys what router on a stick was and how to configure it and its use. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this video was helpful, and until the next one, God bless.